Cool. So Penny sends her apologies. She can't be here tonight, my business partner, but she did the talk last time and was explaining about our project, which is based at Mount Pleasant in Sharrow. And the overall project is called Avenues to Zero. But I thought I'd do a quick recap for anyone that wasn't here last time. It was a while ago now. But basically, we are taking on, or have been trying to take on for the last 3 years, a Grade 2 listed Georgian mansion in the heart of Sharrow, just outside the Ring Road, just on London Road. So if anyone knows where Wasabi Sabi is, you turn right, Rossi's is there, and just behind it is this massive building that has fallen into a state of disrepair, shall we say. It's a beautiful building, and we've been trying for the last 3 years to take it on. So this is London Road, Sharrow Lane, town is that way, and the whole site is about a hectare in total, just shy of a hectare. So that's Rossi's, you probably recognise. Wasabi Sabi's here, Bramall Lane's over here for any football fans. And it's a Grade 2 listed Georgian mansion, the old stable block, and then a Victorian school, which is over the back, and then it meets the top of a park just here, which is Mount Pleasant Park, where Sharrow Festival is held. We're trying to take this site on to create a space where we bring together multiple things. So this is me and my business partner, Penny. We do a number of things in the city. We've been fighting for Mount Pleasant for about 3 years now. We've been working on the project for what we want to do for about 6. We're also known for doing Pechakucha, which is a presentation format which is connected to a global network of over 1,000 cities that showcase cities to cities. We've done 25 different events at 22 different venues across the city, showcasing over 200 speakers over the last 7 years. The other thing we run is Sheffield Soup, which is a live crowdfunding platform. So it's about funding local projects. We've done 12 of them. I think we've put about £7,000 worth of on the night funding into an event. So basically you turn up, pay £5 on the door, you watch 4 people pitch that have been crowd judged and shortlisted. You have a break, you have some soup and bread, you vote, and whoever wins the most votes on the night takes 100% of the door money home to fund their project. Also involved in a couple of other things, which is the Making Sheffield Fairer campaign, which is commissioned by Sheffield City Council that I work with on now then, and then So Far Sounds, which is a platform, again, that's globally connected, that acts locally, that supports up-and-coming music talent, and that happens in about just shy of 400 cities across the world. But this is our site, this is our vision for it. We've brought together a number of factors that often happen in isolation, and by bringing together those things, hopefully it makes it sustainable and it makes it stack up. So this is the main house that the red dot doesn't show up on. So on the ground, first floor, we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4-bed self-contained apartments. Top floor is the co-working space, and because it's Grade 2 star listed, the actual aspect of the whole building is important. But hopefully what we're going to be able to do is take all the inward-facing roof sections and make that a completely open plan, naturally lit top floor. Out the front, we're digging an Olympic swimming pool-sized hole that's going to have a Fab Lab in it, with a mezzanine section on top for permanent fixed desk co-working spaces. The Fab Lab will be very much orientated around putting the technology you normally find in institutions in the hands of the community, but all orientated around finding ways for people to take themselves from hobby to small scale and medium scale batch production so they can start living on their own terms. The old stable block that is currently occupied by Shipshape, we provide health and wellbeing services for 2,300 people in the surrounding community. We're going to build them a purpose-built space out the back of that. We're going to take out the first floor and turn it back into a double height space. So that will be our 150 capacity venue. There's also a space on the top floor in the co-working space that will be kind of a 50, 60 seat lecture theatre. Then over the back here, we're retaining about 70% of the school. That will form the common house for the co-housing project either side, 50% of which we sell, 50% of which we let out. And then coming round to the other side, this is the view from Sharrow Lane, so Rossi's is just here, so that's the view you might have seen before. And then over here you can see Rossi's in the corner and the walkway, it's a bit of a muggers alley at the moment that goes up to the top of Sitwell Park. This is our mixed-use development, so it's got retail spaces on the ground floor with residential above. And this section here, which you can see in close-up here, is our retail incubator. So they are small spaces that's based on a traditional model where you would live above your shop, but you actually live behind your shop. And they have a small shop frontage of about 75 square feet. You live behind it. It it costs you about £600 a month, which is what you pay for an apartment in town, but for that you get somewhere to live and you get a shop frontage. So you can actually try out and test for low overhead, low risk, that thing that you always tell your mates about that you're going to do one day in the pub on a Friday night. You can see here, so this is the shops and the back of the building, the south side bit. This is the minimalist co-working space here, and you can see how we're opening up the space, so it turns it into a thoroughfare from Mount Pleasant Park, so connecting Abbeydale Road to London Road. So we're massively increasing the footfall, as well as putting potentially about just shy of 200 residents on site if it was at full capacity. The other element that we have is a pop-up 350-seat venue, so that we can put bigger events on. That becomes a venue park during the day, so we can put street food markets on, other elements like that. It does cause a bit of controversy right up to the point that you tell people it's a pop-up venue. So it's inflatable. So the idea with it is it's based on the Arc Nova, which was a project done by Anish Kapoor in Japan in 2013 after the tsunami hit, where everything was flattened and raised to the ground and there was nowhere to put anything on. So they created a mobile concert hall that toured the country for 18 months. This one's got a 500-seat capacity. But the main principle for doing it in this way at Mount Pleasant is not to offend people, because we're putting it next to a Grade 2-star listed asset that has amazing heritage because it's been around since 1777, is to create a cost-effective way for people to be able to use and rent that space, because there's 50 ways in which you can create a pop-up or temporary venue, but if it takes a team of 6 people 2 days to put it up and 2 days to put it down, it becomes very expensive. If this thing is set part of the ground and part of the infrastructure, and you press a button and within 2.5 hours it inflates, you've got a very cost-effective way of putting on and doing amazing things for, I think ours is going to be about 350 people at a time. We're also looking at whether we can actually make it mobile, so this one packed down into the back of a, not quite a picture on here, so it packs down into the back of an articulated lorry, shipping containers, 40-foot shipping container size, so we can potentially send it to other places to put on different events when we're not using it. So what have we been doing since we were here on the 3rd of July? Well, we submitted our bid, which we have an amazing group of partners that have helped and supported us doing that, which does include Arab for our digital support. We've had Bon Bryan Architects on board since August. They've done us an amazing amount of work. We've got CMS doing all of our legal side of things that used to be Navarro. We've got Grant Thornton supporting us from the tax and the finance side of things, and we've even got the Designers Republic doing our branding for us. So we submitted our bid on the 14th of July. It was a 125-page document. We then went about 10 weeks of making phone calls and emails to check what was going on. And unfortunately, once again, having fought for this building for 3 years and been working on this project for 6 years, unfortunately we had to do our escalation thing, which basically means, because I sit on advisory board to the council, I sent John Mothersole and Julie Daw an email going, really sorry to have to do this, but we can't get any communication whatsoever. Within 2 hours of sending that email, copying in cabinet and council members, we got a response inviting us into interview with 6 days notice. So that clearly wasn't organised in those 2 hours. It had occurred, we just hadn't been notified about it. We went in, the interview seemed really, really positive. We hopefully allayed the fears, which was how are you as the people that you do going to afford to do this, because we reassured them that we've actually got an investor on board that is willing to give us all of the money to do this project from scratch. So we're not going to have to apply for money, although we probably will. We then had a number of days to follow up with a couple of questions that we couldn't answer in the actual meeting around the finance side because we had such short notice. We have submitted those questions. It took us a further 2 weeks to get acknowledgement that those questions have been received. I will not allay my frustration around that, but it seems a little unreasonable to me. And we are now 9 weeks since our actual interview, and we are back to zero communication, not knowing what's going on. So we are bordering on the point where we escalate again to find out what the next stages are. So things are moving forward and progressing. It is unfortunate to have to try and communicate and deal with things in this way, but over the last 3 years we have come accustomed to it, shall we politely say. So we've had a number of positive meetings because we're constantly pushing this forward. So we're talking to South Yorkshire Housing Association at the moment. They're really interested in supporting, finding out ways that they can actually integrate in what they're doing, and they're also really, really interested in the actual model we're creating. And the thing that we're doing differently is that we're bringing where people live and work and learn together in one place. Lots of these things have been done in isolation before, but they haven't necessarily all been brought into one place so that people live and work in the same place, take ownership as a part of things, and The other big thing that we're doing is there's a huge social element within this. So everybody that lives there will have a social contract as well as an actual contract, and they will commit to providing 1 hour a week to support the project, which means over a year we actually have the full-time equivalent of 9 positions to be able to support people. So what we want Mount Pleasant to be, as a lot of our other projects that we do as events are, is that we want people to walk through the door and go, I want help with this. And rather than going, you need a load of money to do that, you can get loads of support from the surrounding community. It'll be run on a time bank kind of model where everybody's hour is worth everybody else's hour. So even if you end up cutting someone's hedge in order to exchange for that, there's loads of actual latent potential and support within a surrounding community. We want to build a model that enables us to prove how this works, work out all the kinks, and then put it online for free that allows other people around the world to replicate this. So the overarching project is called Avenues to Zero. Within that, there are 6 avenues, and we use these as the catalysts that we think everybody faces regardless of who you are. So housing, food, enterprise and skills, energy, health and well-being under the welfare title, and the overarching one, the environment. And the idea is that we use these challenges that everybody faces as catalysts to bring people together to work on projects. And this is hopefully where people will want to get involved. So putting the time delays to one side, we are continuing to move all of this stuff forward. So we're currently working on a project that we're looking at doing digital health with our health and well-being providers, and how we can actually enhance what happens in the real world in the surrounding communities. So Mount Pleasant's uniquely placed. So just to the north side of the building, there is the Lansdowne estate, which is one of the most deprived areas in the whole of Europe. And over the south side, over the back, is Nether Edge, which is one of the most affluent communities in the whole of the UK. And we have 42 different nationalities within 500 metres of the building. So we have this amazing potential to be able to find out and test and make things work for people by overlaying useful and interesting things that make an intervention at the right point but don't necessarily dominate what people do. And that has a huge broad cross-section of ages within that as well. So it's about how you encourage people who wouldn't normally use technology to use it in a way that has that tacit feedback loop that encourages them to get more and more involved in using other stuff. So there's hopefully lots of ways in which people can get involved in this, because there's lots of different facets to the project that come in many different forms that we are building, and we want to build them in a way that they are replicable and usable by other people. So if you would like to get in touch or involved, please do get in touch.
Thank you, Johnny. Has anyone got any questions? Maybe just 2 questions before we move on, because I know Peter's here.
Realistically, how far down the line do you feel like the project is from breaking any ground?
So we are RIBA stage 1. We've got a number of things that we've talked about and go in the other stages. So we have everything in place that we need to do, not least of all the money to progress it, but to take the next steps, because everybody that's worked on the project so far has done at no charge. So it's been a completely collaborative project. We need to get a nod from the council to say, yes, this is yours, agree head to terms, and then we can literally go forward at 1,000 miles an hour given the opportunity. So if we got full go ahead with no hindrance, we could probably break ground within 12 to 18 months, because there's all the other stages of the stuff that we need to do.
And when would you envisage it being in some form of being ready, open to the...
So we've got a couple of phase models. Well, we've got one phase model and one all out. So because originally we didn't know whether we'd be able to get all the money at once, we actually phased the project into 6 elements that we would need an initial investment of about 4.5 million to do of the main heritage asset, that then part of that is sold, part of it's rented out. So each time you're getting a capital receipt and an ongoing revenue, and that would fund the other elements going forward. If we did it in that way, I think it'd take us about 4.5 years. But because we've got the investor who wants to give us all the money straight up front, we should be able to do it from start to finish in about 2.5.
I'm a bit confused. So if you've got an investor that's going to give you money, what are you asking permission to Sheffield Council for?
Well, they own the asset, so it's owned by Sheffield City Council, and therefore the public.
Want them to gift you the...
Oh no, we're happy to pay for it. Gifting is fine. We've got some great stats that we've worked up for over the next 20 years about how many jobs it will create, how many businesses it will start, how many people it will support, how many interventions it will make, how many millions of pounds will literally go into the rates from the ongoing businesses created. But at the moment, it's a public asset in terms of the fact that it's owned by Sheffield City Council.
The issue is that it's not the only scheme, isn't it? That's the issue.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone into a competitive bid process, despite the fact that originally we were one of 2 people that had expressed an official interest in the building, and that other developer went away. But yeah, we ended up saying, well, look, just fair and open bidding process would be great, because we were concerned about what might actually happen to the building and how it would be protected. Yeah, so there are other people that are potentially bidding. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they're thinking of doing. But it's definitely not going to be stuff that has the benefits that what we do.
So forgive my ignorance, but did Sheffield Council put an invitation to bid for this building, or is this like a speculative, you know, you just knocked on the door and said?
So originally, long story as short as possible, in 2014, I went and spoke to John Mothersall. He went, this is brilliant, this is exactly the sort of thing we'd like to do. Passed us to Nalin, who went, this is brilliant, exactly the sort of thing we'd like to do. Passed us to a council officer and the asset disposal officer from Kia, and that's when we started having problems.
So nobody has the headache that you're offering an aspirin for?
No.
Right.
So we, over the last 3 years, we've used freedom of information requests. We've caused problems to expose the fact that things may not have necessarily been done to the book, shall we say.
Do you have listed buildings consent for your proposals?
So it's going to be one of the things that we'll work through, but we have a planning consultant and a heritage consultant on the team that has been working with us. So again, obviously you can't actually talk to the people in control until you have some degree of head to terms over the building.
Do you have listable items on the interior, or is it just the exterior?
So there's 2 lists. One's which held in the library, which is a more minimal one, but we're assured there's a much more detailed report on the building about all of the listed assets, and it's grade 2 star listed. So there's inside and out. The staircase is protected. There's a number of items within the main house. The stables has a vaulted ceiling in it. Apparently, there's only 3 examples of which left in the country.
And have costings taken all these into account?
Yep, so with us being really fortunate, we have, I think the QS is just shy of 100 pages for the consultants that have been working with us to help us work out those costs.
If anyone wants to get involved or help support the process, then contact Jonny and talk to him afterwards.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But it seems to me your root problem is you've not got core support from inside the council. You've not won the argument in there. And that's why you're not getting.
Well, I'm not sure that it's an argument. I mean, we've got cabinet members that are supportive. We've got loads of all 3 of the local councillors are supportive. It's just when it comes to we would like to give you money for this.
You don't need money, do you?
No, we would like to give them money for it. We need to give them money, and then they give us the documents that say that we own the building, or at least we will own the building once due diligence has been done. That's the stumbling block. But all of the stuff we're developing, worst case scenario, I suppose, after a devastating kind of period of sadness, we would go and do this somewhere else. So everything that we're developing, we were working on before Mount Pleasant, and we will work on after, but this is the perfect place in which to do it.
Yeah, I think it's on to everyone.
Right, we have to move on.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks very much, Jonny. That's
Thank
fantastic. I'm aware that the pizza has arrived.